In today's episode, I want to discuss a brand refresh we just released here at St. Philip Deacon in the last week or so, and also talk about why it's important and why we did it. Stay tuned. Hello, friends. Pastor Tim Westermeyer here, Senior Pastor of St. Philip Deacon in the western suburbs of Minneapolis. Good to be with you as always. In the last week, we have released a new website here at St. Philip Deacon, which has also been part of let's call it a brand refresh that we've been working on for the last, 6 or 8 months, I suppose. And so have been some early uses of that in some publications, our partners in the gospel. We made a slight change to our bulletins. Our print newsletter is going to be using those new brand guidelines. If you're connected to the church, you hopefully received in the mail in the last few days a little brochure about this brand refresh, which walks through new logo type, new color palette. We're actually sticking, and Tim and I were just talking about this before taping this, we're sticking with the typefaces that we've used for a long time, but maybe using them in a slightly different way. This is, you may remember I come out of the world before I became a pastor going on, what has it been? Gosh, almost 25 years ago. I worked in the world of communications and public relations. I have just an interest and affinity in graphic design, and I love fonts, I love typefaces, I love graphic design, and so this has been a fun project for me, and I'm really excited about this new refresh for us. I think it's come together really beautifully. We're grateful to our partners at Malley Design who have been working with us on it, and we'll show maybe a few instances of it, or maybe already have in the whichever direction, this way I guess, some images. We're having some new banners printed. Again, we've got digital displays on the interior of the building that have been changed. We're actually, and again, we were talking about this as well, our exterior signage is going to change. We have some artistic renderings of that. So you can see it a little bit at work, maybe in some of those graphics. But I want to respond to a couple of questions. I actually haven't gotten these questions, but they're questions that maybe people might ask at a moment like this about, well, why would you do that? Why would a church worry about that? And I mentioned one of these, at least in passing, in my welcome to everyone in worship when I discussed this just last weekend. And one response would be, someone might, let's say, well, Tim, the gospel is really important, but how you communicate it doesn't matter. It's the most important message in the world, and so it sort of carries itself on its own merits. I disagree with that. I agree that it's the most important message in the world, and because it's the most important message in the world, I think churches, among other places, have a real responsibility to curate and carry that message out into the world in a way that's thoughtful and intentional and sophisticated, and that reaches people where they are. We live in a culture that is very sophisticated in terms of consuming media, and it seems to me the church has a responsibility to carry that really important message of God's love for us in, if you want to call it this, packaging that allows people to fully receive it. And so I actually don't apologize as a church that we take this kind of thing seriously and are willing to invest in it so that people can learn more about the God who loves them and learn about their place in the kingdom of God. So that's one thing, is sort of broadly, why would a church worry about something called like branding, right? And that would be my general response to that. Another thing that people might say is, oh, well, you're doing a brand refresh. Does that mean you're making a change in your values, your mission? Is this sort of a way of indicating that kind of a change? And I want to be very clear, and happy to talk about this in other places too, but in this space, I want to be very clear that is not the reason we're doing the brand refresh. Quite the contrary. I use these words all the time here at St. Philip Deacon. I would use words like, we're a healthy, vital, vibrant congregation, which honestly is one of the reasons, as we were thinking about doing this process of a brand refresh, I had a bit of a pause because I thought, well, things are going well, So why would we mess with that by disrupting, again, the branding that we used to use, the color palette we used to use? And in the end, I became convinced, both with conversations with our staff, with our council, with our executive team, with our partners at Malley Design, that our old branding was actually not representing who we were as effectively as it might. Again, our mission, reach out, proclaim, inspire, our values, the fact that we are a community that's focused on warmth and connectivity and hospitality and generosity, that we could do better at lifting up who we are through our branding, through our brand assets, through our, again, logo, our use of type, our use of colors, and so forth. So I hope I'm not overcomplicating this, but the point I'm trying to make is St. Philip Deacon remains who we were before this brand refresh. Our prayer, our hope, is that the brand refresh allows us to be better at making who we are and who we were clearer to people who are not yet part of this community of faith. I hope that makes sense. So the brand refresh does not represent a pivot, a change in direction. It represents, if anything, reclaiming and reaffirming who we are. So I would actually point you to I would point you to our new website, among other things. But on there you can find our mission statement and our values, and all of those are just as they are this week as they were last week. And again, I hope that this brand refresh will allow us to live into that even more fully and allow people to experience and understand who we are a little more clearly. I hope that makes sense. If you're interested in this kind of thing and you want to hear even more about it, beyond me talking about it for a few minutes, I'm going to point you to a really wonderful interview we did with Brian Malley, one of the principals of Malley Design, who, again, they've been longtime wonderful partners of ours. And this showed up in the last issue of our Inspire magazine, where we do an interview with him precisely around these questions of what does branding mean and why is it important for churches to actually care about it. And there was sort of a preview of our brand refresh in that article. And again, hopefully we'll have a few other assets that we'll throw up visually for you in this episode. So again, check out that article. We'll provide a link for it below. And then maybe, I've already mentioned this, but among other things, check out our new website, which again, we just launched in the last week or so. See what you think. I hope we've vetted all of the mistakes and errors and typos and so forth. That those projects are big lifts and they require a lot of effort. So if you find something that doesn't look quite right, please let us know. And then, if you're there, might I encourage you to pass on the site to someone who might be looking for a church? The whole point of this, again, is to continue to spread God's love in a hurting world. And if our website, if our branding can help to do that, then obviously all the better. So again, a short message about this emphasis here at St. Philip Deacon right now. As always, I'm grateful for our time together. And until next time, be well, stay in touch, and God bless.